So today I want to talk about how your blood sugar regulation has a profound effect on the endocrine system. Okay, so but first let's talk about what the endocrine system is. It's a complex system of relationships that is comprised of organs, glands, and cells that produce more than 100 different hormones. Now, people will normally jump to thinking about menstruation, libido, menopause, whether or not a woman is fertile or not when they think about hormones, but they're much more than just that. Okay? Hormones are transported throughout the blood to trigger specific cells or tissues to action. So they basically transfer information and instructions from one set of cells to another. It's actually a hormone that gets the stomach acid to increase or decrease. It's a hormone that gets the gallbladder to release its bile, the pancreas to release digestive enzymes, and all of its blood sugar handling hormones. Pretty much any form of action in the body requires a hormone. And we can compare the endocrine system to an orchestra, actually. The hypothalamus being the manager, the pituitary being the conductor, and all the members of the orchestra being the endocrine organs. Okay, so if you got a bunch of violins that aren't tuned up and you got the piano player doing his own thing, not following the conductor, that music is just, it's not going to flow right, it's not going to sound right, you're not going to want to listen to it. And that's the same thing when it comes to the endocrine system. Balance is key. So one of the major factors that just wreaks havoc on the entire system is dysfunction in your blood sugar regulation. It's pretty much pointless to even attempt to stabilize hormones until your blood sugar is addressed. Listen, your body cannot decipher stress. So anytime your body senses any form of stress, your adrenals, which are these little walnut-sized glands that are on top of your kidneys, they're like little warriors. They fire up and they prepare you for fight or flight. Okay, so when your blood sugar is all over the place and you got these intense spikes and drops, your body is treating that like it's a high level emergency, like you're in a life or death situation, like you're running away from a wild animal. Your adrenals are promptly reacting, firing off epinephrine, which is adrenaline, and cortisol. Your body is always fighting for your survival, and it puts things like reproducing on the back burner. So it can actually stop you from menstruating. It can stop you from ovulating. Okay. The last thing on your body's intrinsic mind is whether or not a sperm is going to fertilize an egg if you're essentially running away from a wild animal. Unfortunately, nowadays, with the Western diet, we are causing these emergencies several times a day with consuming refined sugar, processed foods, sugary drinks, alcohol. We're not getting enough nutrients in. People are so busy, they're skipping their meals. Where meals aren't balanced. All of this causes a chronic output of cortisol. Okay, elevated cortisol leads to insulin sensitivity, which leads to adrenal exhaustion, and that just leads to a cascade of endocrine dysfunction, such as increased testosterone in women, increased estrogen in men. It can cause pituitary imbalances, thyroid metabolism defects. It can cause elevated blood pressure. The adrenals can use up the nutrients that the thyroid and the gonads need to produce their own hormones. And it can negatively affect all other organs and make them incapable of doing their jobs properly because they're stopping what they're doing to attend to the emergency. Just to give you some examples of how that's a recipe for disaster, your liver has over 500 jobs, and one of the jobs is it filters out all of the used up and no longer functional hormones. And any hormone that is in excess, it will filter it out and it will remove it from the body. And it will also recycle some hormones too. Okay, your thyroid, it releases the hormones T3 and T4. T3 is the active form, and it's needed by most organs, and that's important for help regulating cellular metabolism and growth and development. Your gonads produce the reproductive hormones. So those are just a few examples of a few organs, but if you got chronic output of cortisol, your entire body is not functioning the way it should be. So you're going to have all types of imbalances going on. So as far as menopause, the women going through the change, okay, their ovaries are passing the job of estrogen and progesterone production to the adrenals. So obviously, if we got all this dysfunction going on in our blood sugar regulation and the adrenals are constantly firing off, this transition from the ovaries to the adrenals, it's going to be extremely difficult, which is just going to leave women with all of these horrible, dreadful menopausal side effects, the hot flashes, the mood swings, the night sweats. So we can't talk about all of that and not discuss digestion at all. Okay, hormones are made from cholesterol, fatty acids, and amino acids. So it's absolutely necessary that our meals are balanced and they consist of good quality and unrefined protein, fat, and carbohydrates. But digestion is vital here, because we can have the best, perfect nutrient dense diet ever, but if we can't break all those nutrients down and absorb them, it does the body no good. Okay, so the stomach is so critical here, because one of its jobs is to break down the protein into amino acids, and that is important because your thyroid hormones, serotonin, your blood sugar hormones like insulin, glucagon, the hormones that are needed for digestion like cholecystokinin and secretin, they are all made from amino acids. Okay, so the liver and the gallbladder function is very important as well, because that's going to digest your fat, which is important for healthy cell membranes, but also to make eicosanoid hormones and steroid hormones. Your eicosanoid hormones are going to help manage inflammation. Your steroid hormones are your reproductive hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. If you can't digest all of these nutrients, you cannot make hormones. So digestion is so important. It's also important to have a well-populated and diverse gut microbiome. This is going to allow you to absorb the nutrients that are needed in order, to make the hormones and transport the hormones. And it's also going to make sure that you are eliminating properly, which, is very important, because if you remember, the liver is going to be filtering out the used hormones. So you need to be able to get rid of those used hormones, and also get rid of toxins, because toxins can go in and mimic your hormones and not allow the real hormones to function properly. Okay, so this is why working with a nutritional therapy practitioner can be just so beneficial, and really looking at each symptom and determining the best way, the best route to bring the body back into balance.